The world of marketing and PR has turned into quite the frenzy, and it's not easy to navigate the ever-changing landscape. Join me in my journey to learn from the best, as some of the world's top marketing and PR professionals share their stories on ways you can harness these changes to grow your brand. It's time to fuel the frenzy. Okay, it's fantastic to be here today. I feel like I've had an amazing conversation and we haven't even got this podcast going, but welcome.
Thank you.
So we have a very extrovert, wonderfully entertaining guest with us today who I know is going to do a phenomenal job in sharing insight of the world of word-of-mouth marketing. So welcome today to Ted Wright.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
It's fantastic to have you here,
Thank
Ted.
you.
Like I said, I really enjoyed our conversation so far. We've talked a lot about wine. For any Pinot Noir lovers like I am, I mean, it's been a great conversation. And apparently Oregon is the place to go.
Oregon is the place to go.
Okay, so yeah, I need to check that one out. So Ted, why don't you do me a little favor and share a little bit of insight on yourself and your company, Fizz?
Great. So we are the original word-of-mouth marketing company, started 16 years ago, and now we're all over the world, focused solely and exclusively on word-of-mouth marketing. Everything from the strategy to the activation and all the points in between, measurement, all the great stuff.
Very good. So, and word-of-mouth marketing, I mean, it's something we've been talking about for years and years. When I was at university, kind of 20 years ago now.
That can't be true.
Yeah, honestly, I'm looking good for my age, but thank you.
Awesome. Keep going. Rock on, girl.
Thank you. But word-of-mouth marketing was really kind of, advertising campaigns, and then there was word-of-mouth marketing, but there wasn't digital marketing, and there wasn't online PR, and there wasn't SEO, there wasn't all that other stuff. And then now I kind of feel like, has word of mouth marketing got lost? But it hasn't, because there's Fizz and you're doing some phenomenal things for some great brands.
Well, I think what you've seen, particularly in the North American market space and those mature to media markets around the world. So mature media market, if you've had television ubiquitous in your market for at least 35 years, the efficiency of broadcast, television, radio, pop-up ads on the computer, really starting to decline. And it's starting to decline because everyone's seen it so often, they don't pay attention anymore, right? The data is that 8 out of 10 North Americans don't believe that companies tell the truth in their advertising. And 9 out of 10 North Americans actively ignore advertising that they see every day.
Right.
So what has risen back in being the most powerful communications tool for the North American market space is word of mouth. One friend telling another friend something face to face. So 70% of all those conversations, all the word of mouth conversations, are face to face. 20% over the phone. Only 10% are in the world of social media.
Right.
And a face to face conversation is 100 times more believable than that same conversation between the same two people digitally. So because there's only 7 or 8 known ways that people can communicate digitally, including emoticons, vocabulary choice, punctuation. But there's over 400 ways that people communicate when they're face-to-face. Right? So we've all had our mom be angry at us. So just looking at her in the face, what level of angry is she? Is I forgot to take out the trash, or did she find the marijuana hiding in my underwear drawer kind of angry, right? Where is it? It's almost impossible to do all of that nuance in a digital world.
So true, yeah.
Right? So since the average word-of-mouth conversation is only 32 seconds long, influencers, and we can get to those who those people are, influencers really try and get in there, share the story, and get back out.
Right. Okay, so you work with some pretty impressive brands, and not all massively impressive, smaller companies too, who are going to be impressive, obviously, after they've worked with Fizz.
Thank you.
How does a brand know, I'm just thinking about some of the clients I'm aware of and some of the ones we work with, like, how does a brand know that word-of-mouth marketing is right for their business? And maybe that's a dumb question, because maybe word-of-mouth marketing should be the essence of everything that we do, because that's how we all started doing marketing, was word of mouth. But like I said, we've moved into this other space. But I know you have a criteria that you go to when you choose to work with specific brands. There's certain things they have to meet in order for you to be able to do some great work for them. So kind of talk me through that. How does a brand know that they might be able to do some phenomenal word-of-mouth marketing campaigns?
All right. So for us, when a brand comes to us and they say, hey, we're interested in talking to you, we really think about 3 separate pieces. We think about do they have a very specific goal? So just being bigger is not a goal.
No.
Like, we would like to get to X with this, or we would like to accomplish this. Now, they can be big, hairy, audacious goals, but it needs to be a specific goal. And then the second question is, do you have a story? Now, everybody always thinks they have a story, right? Because everyone talks about stuff within the four walls. But a story for word of mouth side is not, do we as a company think we have something to talk about? Is, if I tell you my company's story, are you going to remember it and think it's interesting enough to share it with your friends when you're seeing them over that glass of Pinot, or the kids' soccer game, or when we're waiting in line for carpool pickup, or wherever it is that we see our friends? So a story, in order to get shared, has to have three qualities to it. It has to be interesting. Interesting so that influencer will pick up this story and judge it. Because it is not technically possible for an influencer to know anything more about any subject on all of planet Earth than you know, because you have a phone in your hand. So with Google and your super powerful smartphone, you can come up with any data. But interestingly, particularly for North Americans, we don't have enough time to take out our phone and like make every decision using our phone. So we come to rely on our friends. And those friends that are most effective are influencers. So if an influencer sees a story, they're like, okay, is it interesting? So I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
Is it relevant to my audience? So I have a great story about diaper wipes. You have a child that is 11 and you have another one that is 15.
Yeah.
If I shared with you a story about diaper wipes, you'd be like, oh, why did I bring the diaper wipe salesman to my brunch that I'm having?
It's
right?
not relevant to me.
It's not relevant. So as an influencer, I'm never going to share
No.
that. Because influencers, and we'll talk about what drives them, but they love to share stories. So is it interesting? Is it relevant? And then is it authentic? Does it currently jive with the way somebody either considers the category in general or the brand in specific? So if you have a story that's interesting, relevant, and authentic, and then there are tests that we do to push through all those to make sure that's true, then word of mouth will work for you. And if you don't, then you have to resort to broadcast.
Right.
Because that's the kind of the last bastion of people with a weak story.
And the broadcast is that one-way communication, that kind of, let me tell you how it is, and this is why we're so good, and this is why you need us. And the word of mouth is, let's have a conversation and let me share something with you, which I know you're going to tell somebody else.
Right. And because influencers are kind of interesting since we're talking about this. So real influencers, not people that have a digital following of X number of people, because that's fake.
Right.
Just so we're all super clear.
Okay.
Those people are shills, they're spokespeople, they're spokesmodels, they're publishers, all of which are legitimate, great jobs to have, but they are not influencers.
Right.
An influencer
But why do you say that? Because if you've got all those followers and people genuinely are following you because you got something good to say, doesn't it make sense that when you share that and you got all these thousands of followers that they're gonna, maybe they're not gonna believe you, but they're gonna be aware of what you've said?
Yes, I'm aware of a lot of things,
but it's the believing bit, is it?
It is the believing bit.
Okay.
And there's also the difference, just to be like very pedantic about it, there's a difference between I am influential or I am an influencer.
Okay.
So we have a couple of clients and they're famous movie stars. And one's a famous movie star and one's a famous country singer. They're both super famous. One is influential, like he can show something and people are like, oh, I'll go check that out in People magazine. And the other is an influencer. So he can tell somebody, hey, I like this, that has nothing to do with country music.
Right.
And people are like, if X likes this, that's interesting, and he knows this about me. And so that makes a connection with me, so I'm going to go try it. And I'm like, really? Wow. Check this out. So just because you're famous does not make you an influencer. Influencers have 3 particular personality traits. Okay. They like to try new things because they're new. They like to share stories with their friends, and they're intrinsically motivated. So if you're taking money to share a story with somebody, you're a publisher, you're a broadcaster, you're a spokesmodel, you're a spokesperson, you're whatever. You're not an influencer because influencers do not wish to sell.
Right.
I wish to share. Because I assume, because I know you're a smart, intelligent person, and you can make your own decisions. So word of mouth is not about getting somebody to do something. It is about putting information out there and assuming that everybody in your marketplace is a rational person that can make their own best decisions about how to spend their own money. And if your story matches with what they need, they will go buy it, and you don't have to worry about them anymore.
Right.
And if not, then not. And all the screaming in the world long term is not going to help you sell more stuff. a la Buick.
Okay. I love Buick. Yeah, you're
I love
right.
Buick, right? Why buy a Buick?
I wouldn't.
Right, exactly. And there's all kinds of reasons why
Right.
not. Yet people, Honda Odysseys,
Yeah.
people talk about those all the time because, oh my God, Honda Odyssey. And then let me tell you the whole story about Honda Odyssey or Tesla, right? Elon did not put a single broadcast piece out there. He found places where lots of people were going to walk by. He put a car. He put
Made it
some
look
people
good.
to talk about the car. And he put a couple of little screens you could look at. And they had some PR people that sort of primed the pump, and that's word of mouth. And that is the entirety of Tesla.
Right.
Tesla has been sold one person to another. It's like, oh my God. And then Tesla did stuff. They're like, okay, so now that we know this word of mouth thing works, and this is really it, now we're going to do stuff like the insanity button, which was a Spaceballs, the movie joke.
Right.
But it basically, computer takes all the locks off and will launch your car from 0 to hyperspace in like 2.5 seconds. And then, of course, everybody went and they took pictures of it and films of it, and they put it online, or they shared it with their friends on their phone. And people are like, oh my gosh, Teslas are fast too. Voila, word of mouth.
Right. Very good. I love that example as well of the car situation. And you're right. It's a great. I haven't seen any advertising from them, and I've never considered that.
Nope.
So yeah, give me some more examples. I know you've done some great things. I mean, we talked about Crocs earlier.
We did.
My kids had Crocs. My husband hated them. He's like, "Why did you buy those Crocs for the kids?" I don't know, because everyone buys Crocs for their kids, and kids complain they don't hurt their feet. And I was bought into it, and they were as ugly as anything.
Yes.
But I bought them, a green pair and a pink pair.
There you go.
And I know you were very much involved in that Crocs campaign.
So let's talk about the Crocs story in general.
Okay.
So Crocs aesthetically might not be the most beautiful shoe ever made. Love them out there. Keep selling lots of Crocs. Go on. Here's what's interesting about little kids. Little kids, when they're about 2 years old, can take their shoes off. And then smart, intelligent, very well-educated women spend the next 18 months if they're girl children, or 3 to 4 or 5 years if they're boy children.
Up until they're 19.
Oh my God, like little kids. So technically speaking, little girls can generally put on their shoes when they're about 3.5, 4.
Yeah.
Boys, it's like age 6.
Right.
And then people joke like, age 19, I'm still not sure they're really doing it. So now you say, okay, so you've got these little girls and little boys, and they're taking off their shoes and they're throwing them. So you as a parent, particularly if you've got multiples that are in close proximity to one another, you and women in the United States do at least 70% of the domestic work. I mean, that's what all the stuff is. So you are bent over double, putting on your kids' shoes all the time. Yes, and you make that face.
Yeah.
And in your mind, you're like, I freaking hate this. I did not go to Yale Divinity School for this. I did not do this. I mean, and then voila, Crocs comes on. So that back band of Crocs, so that's super wide. And little kids can make this hooking motion. So we found an article that said little kids could make this. So, 1 and 1, and you put all this together, and then you create a story. And the story is from one mom to another.
Right.
Kids can put on their own shoes when they're wearing Crocs.
Right.
And so moms are like, it's ugly. I don't care. So next time you're at church or you're at a sporting event or something like that, and you see a family come in and they're late, look down at the kids' feet. If the kids are like under 7,
If they got Crocs
somebody's
on,
wearing Crocs. Because
it was a last minute, get out the door.
That is exactly what they did. We are leaving now. The rabbi cannot stare at me again. I will not be able to go to shul anymore. Just put on your Crocs and go.
Or it's flip-flops, I'm sorry.
Or
they're even
be
easier.
flip-flops.
Yeah.
It can
But
be
I know that's not
flip-flops.
the Crocs story,
But generally they do Crocs. There's also flip-flops. They make noise.
yeah, that's true.
And
And
they
you can
don't-
hurt your toes if you're a little child.
Oh, can they?
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
if you scuff yourself.
Oh,
Whereas
yes,
with the Crocs, you're protected. There we go.
So one mom told another mom, and they told 2 friends, and so on and so on. And so Crocs in the United States, if you have a household income of a certain level, and you have kids that are under 6, on average, each child owns 2.8 pairs of Crocs. And 15 years ago, they didn't own any of them.
So how did you get that campaign going?
So, well, that campaign or the one we did with chocolate milk or the one we did with Pabst Blue Ribbon or the one we did with flu testing, it all really works the same way, right? You come up with a story that you think is going to be relevant and you immediately latched onto that.
Yeah.
Then the next question is, okay, what's your target?
Yeah.
So when we were doing chocolate milk, so we found out that chocolate milk is the best thing to drink after working out.
Right. I never knew that.
Who knew? We didn't know that either. In fact, the American Dairy Association, that was our client, they didn't know that either. And we had found the technical article in a medical journal, academic journal, and it was 3 years old at the time. And so we read it, and it's 40 pages of dense and impenetrable medical academic speak. Fortunately, I was raised by a doctor, and my sister's a doctor, so I can fake it the first 3 or 4 pages. And I read this, I think, is this thing saying that chocolate milk is the best thing to drink after working out? And so I sent it to my sister, who's an athlete and a doctor, and I said, hey. And she's like, that's exactly what this says. And I said, is it a legit journal? And she's like, yeah, it's in nutrition. That's the JAMA of food. And I'm like, okay, so legit journal, legit people, academics at the Ohio State University. They make you say the part now.
Oh, they do.
The Ohio State University. I'm not sure why, but it's a very big deal. Makes it sound
very important.
It's very important. No, sound. It makes it sound as important as it is.
Yeah, okay.
And of course, yeah, just say it. So we found this thing, and it turns out that chocolate milk is this great thing because it has 3 particular traits. It's 92% water, so it's really good for hydration. It's got the perfect balance of amino acids and proteins, so your bones and muscles will grow. And it also, in all of food, it has the most chemical reaction with lactic acid.
Right.
So your muscles burn after working out. I know you're a big worker outer all the time.
You can tell by looking at me.
There you go.
I'll be flexing.
Thank you. That's the burn is lactic acid buildup between your muscle cells.
Right.
So milk strips that away.
Right.
So you feel so much better. So we're like, wow, that's a really good story.
I like that you agree. There's a story there.
There's a story there. So we found that. And then the next question is, all right, so who's your target? So the American Dairy Association had given this target of middle school kids and also women. And middle school kids, because women in the United States, when puberty happens, they basically bail on milk because it has fat right on the label, and they substitute it with a soda that has diet on the label.
Yeah.
This is not a problem when women in the United States are dying in their late 60s.
Right.
But now that women are living well in their 70s and 80s, turns out that calcium intake into somebody's bones 8 years after puberty starts is about 1% of what it is the day before puberty starts.
Right.
So having women bail out of milk
it's a bad thing.
early, if you're going to live for a while, is a bad thing. So like, hey, fix that. And oh, by the way, sell a lot more chocolate milk because it's pretty profitable for our little dairies.
Yeah.
So we go out there and we find this story that it's the best thing to drink and, where are we going to go? And then so we find people who want to talk about this and we figure out where they're going to co-locate physically and virtually. And we just go share the story. And influencers, any population that you're talking about, influencers are only 10% of the population. But their stories are shared in excess of 40,000 times in their social network.
So who would you find then? So the example of the chocolate milk, who would be an influencer? It would be a nutritionist. It would be...
We started with high school coaches.
Okay.
We started with high school coaches.
Because they're respected by children.
Exactly. And that was the problem. So as marketers, you can't go into a U.S. high school and start selling stuff. And then, of course,
they're not going to listen to a nutritionist because that's boring and dull.
Exactly. Yeah. And they also really don't listen to celebrities anymore because they have those blessed phones with them. And they just flip it over and go, oh, yeah, 2 Chainz is getting paid $15,000 to come tell me to drink chocolate milk. So they're in on the joke, right? And also high school kids, as we both know since we have them, they're surly, they're cynical, and they're rebellious. So we can't tell them anything anyway.
No.
So this is where we got stuck with that program. We were we were almost a week trying to figure out
who are they gonna be.
So somebody said, and they've now been promoted twice, and they actually went up to Harvard Business School eventually. So super talented person in our office. They said, who do kids refer to by their honorific? And by their title. And we're like, so scratch on the whiteboard. So we did the religious figures, but we couldn't figure out, how to get the priest or the rabbi or the father to talk about chocolate milk in the homily, right? We thought about police officers.
The relevance was that the authenticity was not there.
Yeah, the authenticity is not there. Hey, Your Honor, and then we thought about judges and police officers. Your Honor, I'm so sorry. Okay, couldn't figure out how to do from the bench. And by the way, drink chocolate milk. Clang, guilty of speeding and drink chocolate milk. Can't figure that. And then somebody said, how about coaches? And we thought, that's pretty interesting because in North America, if you're a high school athlete, you don't really know lots of times what your coach's first name is. Because, I'd assume it was Coach McGee. I mean, it's apparent because I always called him Coach McGee the whole time or whatever. And we're like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once we thought about coaches, then because 10% of any population is an influencer, in the United States, we decided to go with football coaches.
Right.
Because there's 40 guys on a team, 40 people on a team. So that means I'm going to yield out 4 influencers. Then the next question is, how do you get all the coaches? So they co-locate, they get together.
Right.
Lots of high school football coaches get together in a really gross, generally Holiday Inn Express or something of
Right.
that level. Not that Holiday Inn Expresses are gross,
Right.
but out in the burbs, out in the way ex-burbs somewhere. And they hang out for the weekend and they learn how to be best football coaches possible from the guys who are
great.
winning all of the championships. And so we talked to them there and figured out a way to do that.
Right.
And they told 2 friends and they told all the kids and the kids told their parents.
Right.
And,
And
we're
chocolate milk sales went
up almost 500% in a year. Yeah, amazing.
So, that's very interesting. So, I mean, you're right. The story, it's the influencer. It's taking really the influencer approach is at the heart of everything here. Because without them, then the knock-on effect is not going to happen. The ripple effect is not going to happen.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So influencers, just for all the mathematically inclined in the listening and watching, influencer spread rate runs about 8 factorial. So 8 times 7 times 6, which is technically is 40,370 shares per single individual influencer. That's how with 1,000 influencers, we can change America. 1,000 real influencers. And if anyone ever follows me on LinkedIn or sees me preach, I get after influencer marketing pretty hard because it's mostly fake.
Right.
Which is okay because it's kind of collapsing in on its own weight now. And you're like, oh, wow, we should be authentic and we should be accurate and we should use real influencers. And I'm like, welcome to the party.
Saying.
It's called Word of Mouth Marketing. There's even a trade association, WOMA.org. There is a book.
There's even a book about
There's
it.
even a book.
I mean,
Yes, there you go.
You need to tell me about this book in a minute. Well, tell me now. So this is your book.
I did. Yeah.
Fizz, Harness the Power of Word of Mouth Marketing to Drive Brand Growth by Ted Wright. Obviously by you.
Obviously
There's not
by me.
another Ted Wright.
There is not
No,
another
it
Ted
could
Wright.
never be.
God help us if there's 2. That would be bad.
Yeah.
There's a Star Trek episode about that and it doesn't end well.
So this is like this captures all the secrets of word of mouth marketing. Is that right?
I did. I put thank you for asking. I put all of my secrets and everything I know about word of mouth marketing in the book. Mostly because my wife was really tired of explaining what I do when we went to dinner parties.
Right.
Because people are like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I'd say something like, oh, that's really interesting. And then I would like get up and go get a drink or something like that. And my wife
She's
was
left
like,
trying to keep the conversation going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she got after me. She said, I'm not going to parties to shill for you.
Yeah.
So I need something I just put in my handbag and hand to people and say, here, if you're interested, here it is. So sometimes she actually
That
really
means you're going
does.
to turn up to a party with a big bag, though.
One at a time. Just like, oh, he wrote a book. And like, yes. And then I've sent them to people. Here it is. Here it is. That bang. Here you go. Now pass the wine.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to go
Wine
to a
comes
dinner
second.
party and have somebody, talk about their company the whole time.
No, but you have an exciting job. I mean,
It's fun.
I do marketing. You're more exciting than I am. I need to learn. I need to read this book. There are so many secrets in here. And do you tell me which is the best vineyards to go to in Oregon? Are they in here or not?
They're not,
okay.
but the answer is Beaufrere.
Okay, good to know.
Fabulous. Just sold to a big conglomerate, but they're still going to keep it. Oh, such great Pinot.
Okay. So I could maybe be an influencer if you were ever trying to heighten the sales of Pinot Noir. I mean, potentially.
So let's think about if you are an influencer, right? Do you like to try new things?
Love to.
Okay. Do you love to share stories with your friends?
Love to. I'm a good storyteller.
Okay. And are you interested in getting paid money to share those stories, or you're like, oh
no, that's just genuine. I'm authentic.
Yes. So that's who you are.
I'm an influencer.
You're totally an
Potentially.
influencer.
Yeah.
And we've seen these before.
Yeah.
Everyone in America has seen Oprah Winfrey on television at least once. Oprah's totally an influencer.
Yeah, she is.
Right?
100%.
She was let's stop the show, wait, because somebody told me something, and Stedman loves this towel. And let me talk about the towel, and she talks about the towel, and then she gets to President Obama. So literally, or Tom Cruise or whatever her favorite thing is. She's like, wait, because what she's saying is, look, my joy in life is to share things with other people that I think they're going to make their life a little bit better. I'm not curing cancer. I'm not solving the divorce rate, but if you're tired of bending over double 7 times a day to put on shoes for your little kids that you're super glad that you had, but Christ on a cracker, this is getting a little tiring. My back's starting to hurt. It's a little irritating. Crocs shoes.
Crocs shoes. Okay, on that, this has been a wonderful conversation. I don't want it to end. I'm going to invite you back on the show.
Thank you.
I know we've got so many more things to talk about. But for our listeners and our watchers, we do Facebook Live. Isn't that cool?
It's very cool.
People love it. We're getting so many people watching it, and I'm enjoying it. I don't like looking at me, but I'll enjoy looking at you. Can you tell people how to get in touch with you?
Do a Google search for Fizz and Ted Wright, or you can call us in Atlanta, 404-638-1066. We actually have people that all they do is answer the phone. We totally have a phone number.
We're done.